Hey guys, Coach Tim here from Mad Training with another episode of Managing the Madness. I'm here with my good friend Cleo Cooke. Cleo, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, history, family, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'm an IT guy.
Okay.
And we've been here in Austin area.
Yeah.
Mostly Cedar Park for like 22 years now.
Okay.
So married, 2 kids.
Yeah.
My daughter is in college right now at University of Iowa. My son's in high school.
Okay.
My daughter, the 2 kids, like my daughter was the artist, she was in acting and choir,
Yeah.
and she's doing creative writing up in Iowa.
Yeah.
And my son was, he's a drummer, but he's also been, mostly an athlete doing
Okay.
a lot of baseball.
Baseball from okay.
And then, which is, how I ended up meeting you.
Yeah.
We were on a select team, and I believe the coach of that team, his son was seeing you.
Yeah,
And
the
his wife
Clintons,
was
yeah.
talking about the benefits that the kid was seeing and all that.
Yeah.
So we decided to come out and check it out. So my son Hiro started working with you.
Yeah.
And then I think that was he'd probably been working with you for about a year. And then I had one of those, New Year's moments where
Yeah.
I'm at a certain point in my life, I'm not happy with the way I feel about myself and all that. Maybe, and I looked on your website, oh, he does personal training.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let me try this.
Yeah.
And so, I called you like, hey, and you're like, yeah, sure, of course you can train with me.
Absolutely, you can train
So
with me, yeah.
I guess it's been about 4 years now?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's literally, I was thinking about it the other day, I was like, I think it's literally been, because we've been in here a full year.
Okay.
And then we started in the old space.
Yeah.
The old space, and we were there for 3 years, and I think we were there together for at least 2. So we're going
Yeah.
on 3 to 4 years at least.
Yeah.
Probably 3.5 years at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, I've been working out with you, obviously, I'm not a competition type athlete, but the other thing is, you've been really helpful with, some of the thing with youth athletes, there's injuries and stuff like that. You've been really helpful with, finding resources for me with Hiro,
Yeah.
to kind of work through that. And
Yeah.
so it's been, I think it's been a good relationship.
Yeah, I think so. I think so as well. Yeah, definitely. So, did you play sports growing up?
I did. So weird thing. Like my dad worked for the federal government. So
Okay.
if you're military families, understand how that works. Every time
Yeah.
you get a promotion, you got to
Yeah,
move.
you gotta move, yeah.
You can't stay.
Yeah.
So I ended up. We were living in South Texas at the time, like
Okay.
literally pretty close to the border.
Like on the border. Okay.
Yeah. And he got a new job in Alaska. So like 6th grade. Like right before the summer practices were going to start.
Yeah.
6th grade, the coach came into it, and we were in a really, really small town. Like the whole school,
Yeah.
like I want to say it was in one building. From like 2nd grade to like 12th grade, it was in one building. It's like
Yeah.
600 people maybe,
Yeah.
right? And the coach came in and pulled all the boys out,
Okay.
and just basically, looked at you and go, okay, you're a linebacker, okay, you're a running back,
Yeah.
And so I was going to be a cornerback,
Okay.
football,
Okay.
right? And then my dad got a job in Anchorage, Alaska.
So just complete change.
So complete
Yeah.
sea change.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
we're living in Anchorage, Alaska, and I was talking to one of my dad's friends. I'm like, hey, what kind of sports you guys have here? He's like, oh yeah, we have all the sports. He's like, baseball. I was like, oh, baseball. He goes, yeah, season's about 4 weeks. And like, okay, what about football? Oh yeah, football, probably about 4 to 5 weeks. And he's like, what about hockey? He goes, oh yeah, they play like 4 months. I'm like, I'll play hockey.
Okay, yeah.
So I played youth hockey.
Okay.
So, and then my dad got another job, moved back to Atlanta. I even played hockey in Atlanta for a while on indoor ice.
Got it.
And in Anchorage, Alaska, you play outdoors.
Oh, wow.
Like it's like they literally flood the rinks.
Yeah.
And it's all outdoors. There's no like
Oh, my
stands.
gosh.
It's literally your dad
So
standing
the
around.
sweaters really matter when you're
plywood
wearing a
ring.
hockey sweater. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I mean I played in like snow.
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
couldn't even
yeah.
see where you're going. And pucks
Yeah.
getting stopped up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it was a lot of
crazy.
fun, but yeah. So I understand hockey really well. So as a result, I never really got into the whole football thing. And we moved back to Texas, and so it wasn't really part of my culture. So
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
encourage my son to do it. and all
Yeah.
that, So
Definitely. So Hiro picked up baseball pretty early. would you say?
yeah, I mean it's like one of those serendipity things. Like we had. We had like the whatever like the toy baseball set you get. The bat's about this long, it's about that big around, and you get this like funny little like cartoon character ball.
Yeah.
And I took him out in the backyard, and I just I said, hey, take that thing and see if you can hit this. And I pitched it to him, and wham, he hit it. And then you know, and then he did it like 6 or 7 times in a row. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think this kid could play baseball.
Yeah.
You know, and then the other bit is like my wife's Japanese,
Okay.
and they have just like this unbelievably deep baseball culture
Sure.
in Japan. You know,
Sure.
until really recent, like soccer's kind of overtaking it.
It's slow with it. Yeah, it definitely has.
But I mean, up until baseball was it. You know, and so to her, she's like, yeah, baseball. That's something
Sure.
she and her family have been interested in.
You can identify that culture.
Yeah, and I never, again, I didn't play youth baseball, but it's
Yeah.
like, I think, okay, the kid's got a talent with this, let's try it out.
Yeah. Did he ever play any other sports that, like, I would say a lot of kids are playing multiple sports growing up. But
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'd say, consistently enough to say that he actually dabbled in that for a season or two, or.
So we started the kids off in Montessori, and so
Okay.
they had a thing where they brought in, there's this like program called Soccer Shots.
Oh yeah, I know.
They have coaches that come around, and so he did that, and he's an athletic kid, so he was really good at soccer.
Yeah.
And then one of the other things we had done, my wife had done mom needs a break kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we had him at the Y, and he was doing gymnastics.
Oh yeah.
And he was good at that, and like the gymnastics coach there moved to a private facility.
Yeah.
And we followed him, and he was really gave us a hard pitch to like, you need to quit baseball and focus on gymnastics.
At what age would you say?
Oh, I mean, he was like 8 or 9.
Okay.
He's like, oh, kid's talented, you need to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave it to him.
Yeah.
And then on both of them, because we played one season of baseball at one of the local youth organizations here. Yeah. And then baseball season finished up, and then soccer season was about to begin.
Yeah,
I said, hey, do you think you want to try a season of soccer?
Yeah.
He's like, no, I like baseball. I want to focus on baseball.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the end of the soccer career.
Yeah. So even at like 8, 9, you're already starting to like let him drive the bus.
Yeah, I mean, because I think I didn't want to be you hear and again, some of these people are like really famous athletes, but you hear all these horror stories about I'm going to make you a pro golfer.
Yeah.
Whether you want to be it or not. Or, obviously talked about tennis. Like,
yes.
I didn't love it. I did it because my it's like I didn't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
So
that's as we're going through everyone that I'm starting to speak to about this and putting things down, recorded and on paper, it's like that. The trend is very much like, hey, let the kids drive the bus. Like, let them, at least take their influence into consideration. Even at that young of 8 and 9, it's not always like, we know best and that's it, because they have concrete memory at that point. They can actually recall those conversations to a degree and those feelings at least, right? So if you're letting them have, hey, do you want to do this? Yes, okay, great. Do you want to do this? No, not really. Okay, good. Like, at least they're developing some autonomy already at that age. Yeah,
I mean, because even with little kids, and you do your best not to overschedule and all that kind of stuff, but it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
And for a kid, it's a zillion hours. It's like, so yeah, you just want to make sure that they're actually still into it and want to do it and go through the process.
Gotcha. So then, I'm a soccer guy. I grew up as a soccer guy. I played soccer. I've coached it. Talk to me just a little bit. Kind of give me a 30,000-foot view, maybe, of youth baseball, AAU baseball, however you kind of want to bubble that up. Give us a kind of an oversight of how the tryouts happen, the team situations. Because having talked with the kids that I've worked with and the parents over the years, there's definitely a little bit of a different structure, I think, to how
each
that
sport
runs.
works.
Yeah, each sport works.
Sure,
yeah. So just kind of give me a kind of a elevator kind of explanation of youth baseball, I guess.
We classic thing, I messed up in that I didn't we didn't start at the beginning.
Okay.
Because by the time I did the backyard epiphany with him being able to hit, so he was too old for T-ball. So baseball starts at T-ball. I mean, literally you hit off a tee. Because they just do not have the coordination.
At like what, 4, 5, 6, 7?
5, 6.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think when we started, he was 8U, and 8U, I don't know if it's the same with soccer.
Yeah.
In baseball, they do it by 2 years. So 8U means 7, 8.
Yes,
10U would
typically
be,
something like that. Yeah, there's a birth year kind of scenario where it's like August.
Like May 1. Yeah, in baseball it's May 1.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got in after T-ball.
Got it.
Okay, I'm like, okay, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah, so you can start at T-ball. And then there's a lot of organizations that will do that, like the YMCA.
Yeah.
We have a local thing here called Town and Country.
Yeah.
I'm sure all over the country. And so the way that works is if you sign up, your kid will play.
Got it.
It's not a tryout.
Got it.
Your
Yep.
kid will play. And so you sign up, and they split the kids into teams,
Yep.
and then you get an email saying, hey, you're on. And then our organization did it by they would license like the pro team, so
Okay.
Hey, you're on the Cardinals this season.
Gotcha.
Congratulations.
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
your first practice is this, and here's your coach. And,
Yeah.
and then you go to some community school or some parking lot, some
Some
field somewhere.
some field over there.
And
Yeah.
you meet your team, and then
Yeah.
you start practice.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
and then-
we would call that like recreational soccer.
yeah, recreational
And-
baseball.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. And same thing. Like half the kids there had actually done t-ball, half the kids hadn't.
Okay. Okay.
Literally, like they first got their first ball and glove. Now you'll find that will happen at all the different age levels.
Gotcha.
Like even at 10U or
Yep.
12U, there'll
Yep.
be a kid that just literally has a tag still on his
and that
glove.
is still it's the same with soccer as well.
Yeah, and they get to play.
Yeah, exactly.
At the youth level,
exactly.
they get to
Minimal
play.
investment.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
like you have sometimes it's a parent coach, sometimes
Yeah.
it's actually someone who has a little bit of experience coaching. That it's not that their job still is advertising
Oh, he's an
or
insurance
whatever.
salesman or
Yeah,
whatever.
something else, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
at least he's had experience doing this or has some base level of like understanding of how to put it together.
Yeah, and later on, I actually got involved volunteering for the organization.
Okay.
And they desperately need
Yes.
coaches and people to come in because
Yeah.
it's a lot of stuff that goes on. It's a lot of work, and they just
Yeah.
need people that will show up every time and
Sure.
have practices. And again, be rational adults and not be like the movie cliches.
Yeah.
They desperately need you.
Yeah.
So if your kids are young, I strongly encourage parents get involved.
Yeah.
Go, because they run on shoestrings.
Sure. Sure.
So, and I think kids need that opportunity to be able to get out in the sun and
Yeah.
have fun.
Yeah, exactly. So go through that process for a couple years.
Yeah, so we
And
went
then
through that
starts
process.
kind of gaining a
Yeah,
little bit of
and
momentum.
then ours like you start off and everybody's kind of like in the same level, right?
Yep.
And then like a couple years after that, they kind of start splitting it up.
Okay.
Where they have the AAA level
Yeah.
versus the standard level. And the
Okay.
AAA levels are kids who are a little more talented
Gotcha.
in theory.
Gotcha.
A
Theory.
little bit more athletic in
Got
theory.
it.
In
Got
theory.
it. Yeah.
So in our league, there'd be like 8 standard teams and 4 AAA.
Okay.
Okay, so you start getting that little demarcation. I'll come back to that.
Yeah. Okay.
And then once you get to the upper levels, well, actually at every level, they will have a summer tournament, an
Okay.
AllStar tournament.
Got
So
it.
your kid gets to be an All-Star. And
Okay.
I went through that process as assistant coach. So,
Yeah.
So basically, what happens is they take all the guys and all the teams and all the coaches of those teams
Yeah.
will nominate the players they think should be considered to be an All-Star.
Okay.
And the All-Star teams, like in baseball, they want to keep baseball has 9 players
Yep.
on the
Yep.
field.
Yep.
They want to keep the numbers down so everybody gets a chance to play. So they're
Yeah.
not going to have like 45 kids on an All-Star team.
Yeah.
They're only going to have like say 12.
Okay.
So out of all the kids playing at that age level, there's this nomination process, and then basically you end up nominating the 12 or 13 kids they're going to be. And if you have enough kids, you could have 2 All-Star teams.
Okay.
And so each organization will have an All-Star team. Then you get to play the summer tournaments. That usually lasts like the month of June.
Okay.
If I recall correctly, June, July, somewhere.
Okay.
And you play, whatever it is, like 4 or 5 weekends in a row.
Yeah.
And then depending on your standings, you get to play at the championship game.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which kind of sets you up for the next level.
I was gonna say, how does that status transfer?
Yeah,
right?
so next level will be what we call select baseball.
Okay.
And so select is you're invited to join a higher level team.
What is so then what is the demarcation of a higher level team from these quote unquote recreational teams from a, coaching standpoint?
Yeah.
First and foremost, and then an offshoot question to that is, how do you recognize that he's capable of that? Like, does he want to? You're asking him first. So before I go off on a tangent, I'll let you answer that. So, what's the demarcation layer between the coaching standpoints? Like, from your perspective.
Yeah. So the concept is you are pulling kids out who have shown a level of talent or a level of athleticism, a commitment to the game, where they want to face tougher competition. So you want really good teams playing other really good teams.
And these are invites based off the All-Star scenario.
Yes.
Right?
Well,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so at our organization. So these teams basically are like they're their own organization.
Got it. Oh, okay.
They're
Okay.
affiliated with a youth group. Like
Yep.
they practice at their facilities,
Yep.
but they're actually private organizations. So effectively, the head coach puts together his own team.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then he invites you or selects you to join.
Okay.
And it's not free.
Yep.
You pay. You pay at the recreational level, but
It's nominal, right?
Well, it's
Yeah.
like $50.
Yeah. It's nominal.
Select ball. It can go anywhere from $200 to $5,000 for a season.
Gotcha.
Right. And
Okay.
then kind of depending on one, and then I mean, I've seen select teams with buses.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, literally, and then
Yeah.
and even, I mean, I think, you know, kind of crazy young levels,
Yeah.
they're traveling all over the country,
Sure.
like at, you know, 14-year-olds
Yeah.
playing in Georgia, and
Yeah.
Florida.
From Texas, right?
Yeah, there's that. So the whole select baseball thing, I don't know about like club soccer.
It's similar.
Okay.
The levels are I think there's a little bit more interest in the levels.
Okay.
Meaning there's probably more tiers.
Yeah.
But at that highest level, absolutely.
Yeah,
They're
and once you
doing
get
the
to
same
select
thing.
ball,
They're
we're talking about
traveling.
tiers.
Yeah.
The ages go 1 year.
Gotcha.
So it's 10U, 11U, 12U,
Gotcha.
13U. It's not the 2 age thing.
Okay.
And again, the difference is like rec ball, everybody gets a chance to play,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah.
Select, I mean, if you don't get, you know, you can't,
You're
you
merit- it's
can't just
merit-based,
pay to
right?
say, hey,
Yeah.
I want to be on the ABC Tigers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You have to be invited to the Tigers.
Got it. Okay. So, from your eyes watching him,
Yeah.
like, obviously you can ask him, "Hey, do you want to do this?" and he can say yes.
Yeah.
What were some of the kind of, and this is a kind of a trend as well. I like asking this question to everyone. What did you see that made you think he could be successful in that environment? From what was he showing you potentially, like whether it was talent, skill, technical skill with a baseball and bat and glove, or was it a desire or motivation more mental? Like what do you think you saw?
I mean, it was technical skill. I saw. I mean, he was just able to. My son's an infielder.
Got it.
And so I just saw him like being able to get to the ball
Yep.
quickly, and you know, and also like with baseball, having a feel for the game.
Yeah.
Like a baseball outfielder. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like tracking the ball.
Yeah,
At some
yeah.
point, it's like a thing where you get the physics of how that ball's going to travel.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Pitching.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
being able to manipulate the ball to make it do what you want, be able
Gotcha.
to hit a fairly small target.
And you were seeing success in these areas. more
Yeah,
often than
I
not,
saw
right?
him
You
doing
saw
really well with that.
progression.
And also, he really enjoyed it. You know,
Yeah.
he really liked doing it, like being part of it.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, being on a little bit higher level team where, you know, you got to see that and you got to, you know, you couldn't take an inning off.
Yeah.
You really had to be in the game the whole
Gotcha.
time.
Yeah, definitely. There's a progression there. You want to see he rose to that challenge. Maybe can he rise to something else? Again?
Yeah,
You
I
know.
think for us, and again, it all evens out eventually. But he
Yeah.
got invited to an older team
Okay.
when he was a year younger.
Okay.
You know, the coach said, "Hey, I think he could play at this level."
Gotcha.
So he showed that kind of
So
skill.
that's a step up, right? That's a
Yeah,
step up
well,
on
or
level,
just
right?
it's me because the guy that, you know, the coach advised. I mean, he was a baseball guy. You know, I'm a hockey guy.
Sure.
He was a baseball guy, and he's like, "Yeah, I think he could play at this level."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, that's some validation." And
Yeah, sure.
I'll invest in that and see how far it goes.
Gotcha. So let's speak to that for a second too. Like we'll kind of sidebar there. Let's talk about coaching a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about coaching. Good experiences, poor experiences. The highlight, you know, kind of scenarios of like what you saw from as a parent watching someone else, an adult, manage and deal with your child.
Yeah,
Kind of speak to like, you know, what's the best coaching experience you've had, like on the whole, like, or what's one that you thought could have gone better?
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, my experience, I was fairly lucky. I'd like to characterize it like I would say 90% of my coaching experiences have been good.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't, you know, we really didn't encounter like the nightmare cliche coach.
Yes.
You know, in baseball.
Yes.
Now, I have been in tournaments where we were playing against that person.
Yes. Yeah.
So I know it when I see it.
Yeah.
I've seen it quite a bit, but
Yeah.
when the teams that my son was on, it wasn't really a problem.
Gotcha.
The thing is, like, you know, at the recreational level,
Mhm.
you're just getting dads who are volunteers
Yeah.
that are just trying to help out.
Yeah.
And some of them know a lot about baseball, and some of them know zero about baseball.
They're just there to be a good
And
guy, right? Yeah.
you know, it is what it is,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the thing is, like, if you don't like it, volunteer.
Sure,
right?
sure.
And then you literally, you know, guys that had never ever played themselves
Yeah.
to, you know, guys that were major league prospects
Got it.
and coaches.
Got
you
it.
know. And so, you know, got to see some, you know, and again at the rec level, it's just about, you know, it's literally almost like a spreadsheet. Like, okay, here's my players, here's the rotation, so everybody gets the same amount of innings.
It's all fair.
And
yeah.
managing the parents, you know,
Yeah.
that's a whole different
Yeah.
you know, subject about the.
Yeah.
I'm sure every level of youth sports is like you're going to have like the parents who are really unreasonable and don't
Yeah.
understand what's going on.
Gotcha.
You know, with what you're seeing, what your kid's involved with.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we had one parent on a fairly young team where, you know, he was literally, play my son.
Yeah.
It's like, he will play his set, you know, he's going to get, I mean, that's the other thing too, if you don't understand how the game works, like if you didn't play youth baseball like I didn't,
Yeah.
and you grow up watching MLB,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, we're going to be here 3 hours, and my kid's going to get to play a lot. Well, at the youth level, there's a zillion teams that have to play that Saturday. I'm sure the same thing with soccer.
No,
right?
yes, yeah.
So you get 3 innings or an hour and a half, or 3 innings in an hour, whatever. Yeah. That's it. So your kid may not get 6 at bats that day.
Sure.
He's going to get his 2.
Sure.
And then if the game, then there's a whole thing with run rules.
Yeah.
And so maybe he only gets 1 because the other team was really good or your team was really good.
Yeah.
And you scored a zillion runs, so hey, the game's over.
Yeah.
Okay, next game.
Yeah.
And it's like you just really need to, as a parent, kind of educate yourself on how
the sport at that
level
works,
right? I mean, I don't know about soccer. Hockey worked like hockey.
Yeah,
like
soccer. Soccer does that. It works like soccer.
Hockey worked like hockey. It was a real game, and the periods were shorter, but the game worked the same way.
Yep.
Baseball does not work that way.
No, soccer works the same way as it does.
It's almost a completely different game. Even at the upper levels, it's really about clock management.
Okay.
Because you literally, even at the select level, say at 12U or 13U, it's like 5 innings or an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a whole thing you talk about, like bad coaches. There's the coaches that do it like football, where they're running the clock out. They're ahead by 2 runs, and they change pitchers, and they go out and talk to the.
They just want to they're trying to work the game.
The mechanics of the game are different.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. So let's dive off into a really interesting point that we've talked about before in our workout sessions. Your wife's Japanese, right? So I think that's a great area to kind of dive into because culturally there's differences.
Yes.
Right, between American culture, Japanese culture, and having that mixed culture household of have a Japanese son, half Japanese son growing up in America playing a sport that's very, very popular in both countries and both cultures.
Yeah.
And
but the game's different.
And the game's different, right? Definitely different. Yeah. But sitting in the stands as a parent in your role, in your situation, right? How do things? What are some big differences you see culturally that you're like, that's not what I want my son to learn necessarily, or I do want him to learn that, or just in general, like kind of again another big airplane view of like what do you see? What are the big differences you see between the cultures? Well, what are you trying to instill in your son?
Yeah. The main difference in say American culture and Japanese culture is America, we celebrate the individual.
Gotcha.
Right. It's all about. I mean, it's
to some degree, but for the most part,
yeah. I know. Like all these coaches will make these wonderful speeches. There's no I in team and all that. But at the end of the day, Americans, focus on themselves a lot, right? Japanese culture doesn't work that way. It's really more about the group and the team. You will sacrifice yourself for the team goals much more readily.
Gotcha.
And they really emphasize that, at a deep cultural level.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things, we try to instill in our sons, like, work hard on yourself to help your team win.
Yeah.
And if a coach asks you to bunt, you bunt.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things. If you watch, Major League Japanese baseball, those guys that come over here, they are unbelievable bunters.
Yeah.
Because at every level of the game, they're like, hey, we need 1 run here. There's a guy on third. Lay down a bunt. Yeah. I mean, everybody up and down the lineup can do it.
Can do that.
On command.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you take an American slugger and ask him to bunt, he doesn't know how, and he's going to refuse to do it.
Yeah.
So, it's a completely different type of, the culture of the games, culture of the societies.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
What do you see differences from and again, now Hiro's older, he's in high school, he's playing high school ball. Do you see a difference in, and again, what you see from other parents, potentially how they manage their kids from, again, and not wanting to throw anybody under buses, right? But like how you guys manage Hiro versus how other parents may manage his teammates, rightly, wrongly, poorly, well, anything along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would probably go back to that same thing where okay, be the best you can, work on your game, control what you can control. Yeah. And the other thing is it's your individual effort. Like Japanese have this word, this concept of gambaru.
Okay.
And you look in the dictionary, it says like persevere.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. I mean, it means like do your. They also have this thing called ishokenmei. Like I will do this with utmost effort. So work on yourself, work on your game. Don't make excuses. It's like. I grew up in Atlanta, so I was an Atlanta Braves fan.
Yep.
So Pete Rose had this like really long history going.
Yes.
and pitcher, it was like, he'd had, and they're playing in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Pitcher comes up and he gets him on a slider.
Yeah.
So that breaks the streak.
Yeah.
And after the game, Pete Rose is like, he should have challenged me with a fastball. It's like, as a hitter, it's your responsibility to get a hit.
Yeah.
Pitcher's responsibility is to get you out.
Correct. Yeah.
He doesn't owe you.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's like, that's what we're trying to tell our sons. Like, whenever whenever he was little, and he'd say, oh, that, it was the umpire, or he threw me a jump on the outside. It's like, no. Your job is to hit. Your job is to try to make the play.
Yeah.
You don't blame the field. Don't blame
the
control
the umpires. Yeah.
Control the stuff you can control.
Absolutely.
That's the kind of thing. Like, take responsibility for yourself.
Absolutely.
And again, it's not an unknown American value.
No, not at all. No.
And and again, for the most part, like I've got to say, like Hito's high school now. We were just having this conversation the other night. It's like there are no people I hate on our team. They're all pretty good guys, and they're all pretty good team. And it's like we get along. Even the whole like varsity to there isn't like a real problem. So we're very lucky, and I know from other baseball dad friends that's not the case with every high school.
Yeah, fair.
Or any organization, and that's going to be like with any organization, like your job or
So let's talk about high school. And first off, I guess, are there any significant differences between, I guess obviously the main difference between like a select baseball scenario is you're paying for something versus high school where you're not necessarily.
Yeah.
What from a coaching programming standpoint, what are some differences that you see? They don't overlap in seasons for one thing, correct? I don't believe.
No, they don't.
No, which is very helpful.
Yeah.
Soccer does.
Yeah.
What do you guys see from a high school program that may differ from the club program at all? Whether coached.
Well, so some of the stuff that I was told when we were younger, and again once you see it for in real life, you're like the main thing is if you're in metro area like this, and it's fairly competitive baseball.
Yep.
The high schools are fairly competitive.
Yep.
Like our local high school is 6A. So, and we play with some of the best teams in the state. I mean, literally the #1 team in the state is in our division.
Is around the corner, yeah.
Yeah, so the reality is the old cliche of, hey, I think I'll try out for the high school team, and you go buy a glove like that week.
Like at 15 years old or
well, no, I'm saying like, you're a freshman, incoming freshman, you just like, you show up with a brand new, it's like, the odds of you making the team are not good.
Yes.
Because baseball is a high school sport.
Yes.
Literally eye-to-hand coordination and all that kind of stuff. If you haven't been doing it for a while, you're not going to figure it out on tryout day. And again, like say freshman pitchers, think about it driving down the road. A freshman, a decent freshman pitcher is going to be throwing anywhere from 60 to 70 miles an hour. Now think about standing there and trying to hit. You've never faced real pitching before, and you're going to try to hit. I mean, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? So, and some coaches, some high school coaches will just like flat out, okay, if you don't play summer baseball, I don't want you on my team because you're not committed to the sport. But it's also probably more of a skill.
It's a level. It's got to be a level thing too, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is the minimum, and I think that's, I personally, from my perspective, I would agree with that approach. This is the minimum level of acceptable talent and or experience that we're going to take here because, I've said it before, you're either inclusive or you're exclusive. You can't be both, right? If you're going to be inclusive,
exactly,
and you're going to take everybody that walks out there, then you're probably not going to be as competitive.
Right.
And which is what exclusivity breeds, right? It's competitiveness. So I think that's fantastically fair. And I don't think that's where you get, I think that's where you get in trouble, where you think you can walk out and say, I'm going to do this after never having done it before.
Well, again, not being a football guy, I wish, like, we went to, like, the high school, like, orientation, and I wish, I honestly didn't know this.
Yeah. I
was, like, shocked. I was actually talking to the head football coach / athletic director, asking about tryouts and stuff like that, and he's like, I'm asking, like, and he goes, well, what sport does your son play?
Yeah.
I say he plays baseball. He goes, oh, that's a tryout sport. And I'm like, I thought they all were. And he goes, oh yeah, no, football's not. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, apparently, football, they're looking at this massive amount of kids. They think, I think the idea is that they can train you into being the thing they want.
Yes.
Whereas like I gather like baseball, basketball, soccer, volleyball. No, because I think my understanding is like with volleyball, we have some friends whose daughters play volleyball. It's the same thing. If you're not a club level player, you're probably not going to make the team.
Yes.
And I think the other thing too is like baseball. you know, like football, you go to a high school football game, and there's like, I don't know, like 40 guys on the sideline,
Yeah, easy.
right? 11 on the field.
Easy 50 guys in the roster.
Yeah,
60
I mean,
probably,
baseball, so high school baseball teams usually carry like 18 to 20 kids per level.
Okay.
So like at our school, there's 3 levels. There's like the JV1, JV2, and then varsity.
Yeah.
It's about, you know, so there's only 60 kids on the outside that are going to make the team.
Yeah.
At each age level, you know, so, you know, again, going back to the thing, if your kid doesn't have some experience, doesn't know how the game works, and I think the big reason for that, again, like I was going back before, like what I got told earlier, and you know, you don't understand until you see it, your high school baseball coach will not teach your son the game.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have time.
No, it's not by himself with 60 kids.
No, well, and you know, and like our guys had, it's the main guy, and he's got 2 assistants, but like they can't teach your kid how to field a grounder. If he doesn't know at that point, they don't have the time to kind of teach him. They can't teach him how to hit. They can't teach him how to pitch.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that to soccer, to any other technical-based sport like volleyball.
Volleyball, yeah.
I'm not teaching them how to pass or to set a ball at that point. You're either good at it or you're not.
Right.
And then I'm going to put you in a position to succeed.
Well, you understand the mechanics of how the sport works.
Yes.
Like, you know, like the different positions in soccer or like hockey, it's like, okay, if I can't teach you where you need to be on each type of play.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I think that goes back to the concept of like the sports that we're talking about are open, meaning like there's not, like football is a rehearsal.
Yeah.
It's a set piece every time.
Right, there's
like,
plays the coaches
we
are
can
calling
literally
out,
teach you the very minimal technical things you need to do, which with most of the time is just running.
Yeah.
Right? There's blocking, obviously, and there's evading and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's a set piece. It's a, this is the play. You're going to do this, this, this. He's going to do that, and you have to. And the defense has to stop this. And you can teach them and put them in positions and go here, go there. Whereas volleyball, soccer, baseball, the sport's a bit more open to interpretation.
Like hockey, I think there's like 3 set plays in hockey.
Correct.
That's it. I mean, the rest of the time you're just moving around.
Everything else is a
situational.
chance, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's speak a little bit to kind of because there was a time when Hiro came to me for, I guess, some more specific technical instruction from a movement standpoint.
Yeah.
And it was something he was struggling with. So I think, and what kind of setbacks do you think has he had to deal with? Like as far as like injuries, didn't make teams, stuff like that. Like what and how did he get through them? Like what was the process there?
So we've had injury issues, and I think that's one thing I wish I had known when I gotten into this.
Yeah.
Is kind of be proactive with that, because I think when they're so young and you're asking so much of them, and they have these expectations of themselves. Yeah. You know, and a lot of times, again, going back to the Japanese culture, don't complain. You know, maybe we overemphasize that part.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, they'll play themselves injured. And again, I've seen that with some parents, like pushing the kid to, hey, go, and like, don't take yourself out. If you're up on the mound and your arm hurts, don't take yourself out.
Yeah.
And that, if you're 21 or 22 or you're 38 and it's the World Series, maybe
fine. You're going to push, right?
Maybe you're going to push and you blow your arm up, okay,
You're also being paid money.
But the reality of the mechanics, and I'll get into some of this, when you're 10 years old or 12 years old and you really hurt your arm, there's a lot of ramifications for that. So I know one of the things we'd come into you and also the people you recommended at the local orthopedic place is about, thankfully we never got so far where it went to surgery, right? He actually tore something. Yes. But he's had a couple of elbow issues. Yeah. Because he's just trying to get more. He wasn't as big and strong as he needed to be to hit whatever number in his head was. Correct. And so I know we come to you about strengthening his shoulders and flexibility and stuff like that, and then also the PT people that we've gone to really helped us. And the other thing too, I'm really thankful for that. The doctor was a real honest, no nonsense guy. Yeah. And I told him off the bat too. It's like I want my kid to have a long career. I don't him being a star at 12 I don't care. I'd like him to be able to play later. Yeah. As long as he wants to, as long as he can. Correct. And the doctor was telling me some horror stories about the kid actually tore the ligament right here, and the parents were like, "Hey, can you put a screw in it so he can pitch this weekend?" Oh my God. And for those who don't know, if they put a screw in here, if you tear your ligament right here and they put a screw in it, that's about a 6 to 12 month rehab. Yeah. And you want him to play and you're like, "Hey, can you pitch this weekend?" It's like, and I've seen stuff where I actually watched a game where young kid, I want to say 12U, where he was throwing curveballs, like curveball.
Yeah.
And I asked one of the parents, like, he pitched the game before, and they said he's at 100 pitches in this game.
That's insane.
I mean,
that's where you want. That's where you need to be an advocate for your child versus
like
a cheerleader for your child.
Well, this is the sad bit. The head coach of that team was his dad. And his dad, I'm going to get this kid to the majors. He's going to show everybody what an awesome curve he's got. It's like, he won't have it for long.
He's never going to make it. Yeah. I think that, and this is my soapbox, right? Like my 30-second soapbox. Soccer, baseball, volleyball, it's across the board. Our kids are not, with the overall falling down of like general physical education.
Right. Yeah,
right? And without pointing fingers at schools or anything like that, it's just, there's budgetary situations, I get it, but with the falling down and the lack of like a baseline physical education program, and our kids are not physically capable of doing the high repetition activities, whatever sport it is, without injuring themselves.
Right.
And it's the one thing I would get across, and yes, do I own a facility?
Right.
Do I train individual athletes? Of course.
Well, no,
but like, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's with me at all. It doesn't matter with me or who it's with. But even if it's just doing stuff at home with bands that we've talked about with him, like, are they resilient enough to tolerate 60 throws at speed? Right?
Well,
like, are they tolerant to run 5 games in a weekend?
If you're not the head coach, you know, and you're handing your kid to somebody who's the head coach, that's one thing I do strongly suggest you advocate as a parent. Like one of the last select teams he was on, I was an assistant, right? And again, hockey guy, but my job was to track all the stats, and our head coach was a pitcher who had blown his arm up in college, and so we had our kids on a strict 30 pitch, and I sat there with the clicker, and then I would tell the coach, hey, 25, 26, and we'd start getting another kid warmed up.
That's good.
Because he didn't want any of his guys saying, I was a good pitcher until I was 12 and I blew my arm up. There's no point. There's no goal. I mean, that's the other thing too. I don't know, but like baseball, enjoy it when they're young.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, at the end of your life, those games really don't matter.
Correct.
No high school, college coach is ever going to say, hey, did you win the big tournament when you were 12U?
Yeah.
That's not that. Oh, I'm signing this kid right now. He's got a ring from 12U.
Yeah.
Summer, it's like not going to happen. I mean, the only purpose of those things is to help your kid get better.
Yep.
And if you blow the kid's arm up, or you just make it hell because, hey, why didn't you hit 12 runs?
Yeah.
Why didn't you hit 12 home runs this game?
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be your son forever.
Yeah.
He's going to be your daughter forever.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
exactly. And you want you want him to, as the parent, you want them to enjoy physical activity for a lifetime, I would imagine, right?
Right.
Like that should be, again, in my soapbox, that should be a goal. I want to be able to be physically active as long as humanly possible. And have that as a tenet, right? Like
another head coach that you and I both know. He pitched in college,
Yeah.
and he has nerve damage in his arm.
Yeah.
Literally, he would sometimes be at our practices. He'd be like, throwing, pitching to guys so they could hit.
Yeah.
And he was telling us, like, he had like an office job.
Yeah.
Literally the next day, his wife had to put his arm in his suit jacket because he couldn't feel it.
Yeah.
It's like,
good.
is that
worth it? Is it worth it?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's that worth, right?
Yeah.
This is a new question, kind of, I haven't really thrown out too much yet, and we've dived into it a little bit. But obviously, social media now has a massive presence in everyone's life, especially the kids, and adults as well.
Yeah.
But do you get a sense, or do you know for a fact, like, and obviously major league athletes, major sport athletes have massive followings on social, different channels from platforms. Do you get a sense that Hiro's been influenced at all, or like watches? How does he engage with it in the first place? Does he watch any of these people like on these platforms? Does he get kind of like, hey, I want to do this, and then you kind of reverse engineer it? How'd you find out about that? What did you see? And you get to that point where you're like, oh, he saw that on XYZ. Like, has there been an influence in your kind of purview with him
Yeah, I mean, I
social
think, yeah, for a couple things, like
Yeah.
if your kids are going to be in youth athletics, I think
Yeah.
you need to get a handle on social media.
Okay.
And I work in IT, so I'm around it, so I
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
you know, some of the mechanics of how it works. But I think, you know, I mean, number one, he's a big fan of the game, so he follows our favorite team. He
Yeah.
follows different guys in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, you know, he's also a basketball fan, so he follows those guys, and so he's getting input from that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, look at this guy, or you know, look at this guy's stats, or you know, this guy, you know, he'll come home from like high school, like, hey, Dad, we just got a new guy from AAA. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So he's like, he's really engaged with the game. So that's a
Cool.
really positive thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is, like, if you think you want your athlete to go to higher levels like colleges, you know, high school colleges.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is, like, at least with I'm thinking it'd probably be the same thing with other club sports too. It's like, you know, coaches are busy all over planet Earth. Right?
Yes.
They got a zillion things. So one of the ways you can kind of get your kids seen by somebody, you know, the movies from the 19 whatever, like the coach is driving down the road, like, oh, my kid just hit a home run. Let me go watch it. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
They're not going to come see you unless you've got some kind of buzz going.
Yeah.
And one of the ways you can get buzz going is being on social media.
Yeah,
you can literally, you know, have your kid. It doesn't have to be this huge production. You can literally have your kid hitting against a net, or you know, kicking against a net in your garage.
Yeah.
And you know, hey, this, you know, baseball's all about stats.
Yes,
so,
sure.
you know, hey, my kid hit, his exit velocity was XYZ.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to play at this tournament this weekend. You know, hopefully you'll gather some.
So you're engaging outward, like you're not just waiting to be found. You're having to put yourself out there if that is a stated goal.
The
right?
flip side,
Yeah.
because we had an incident with this, you know, like this at our high school.
Yeah.
Is, you know, when you put stuff out on, I beat this into my kids, like when something's on the internet, it's on there forever. So you got to be really careful. And again, there's been all kinds of cases with all kinds of athletes where something from 4 years ago all of a sudden pops up because, you know, you're famous now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you got to be, and I talk to my children about that all the time. It's like, you know, for a 10-second like laugh, it could really cost you later. So kind of think through. You know, you hate to be like that because, like,
no, but it's true.
No, but it's like with me. I mean, all the stupid stuff I did.
Yeah.
None of it was recorded.
Correct. Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. Nothing's out there. Yeah.
Right. And, you know, versus like our poor kids. I mean, literally everything they do and all the stuff they're hanging out with their friends and they're singing silly songs. And, you know, and you know, there's always controversies about, you know, public figures, what they said. Yeah. You got to be mindful of that. You got to be careful of it. So, you know, and then they'll even talk to you about this when you talk about recruiting. It's like, have a sports Twitter account and have your personal one. And then maybe go through it every once in a while and like, oh, maybe that's not a great idea to keep having up there.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point.
You know, it's double-edged
plays
sword.
a role, but you
sword.
just got to be managing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up with one last thing. So just again, I like these big generalizations. I like kind of snippets to take away where people can just clip that statement or that phrase. What would you change about youth sports? Right? What, you know, I guess what or what, you know, like what thing have you experienced in youth sports that you're like, you know what, that's recurred a few times now, and that's a consistent thing that I keep seeing that really doesn't seem to be a positive influence on the game, my child, teammates, coaches, whatever. What if there's something about youth sports you could change to make better?
I mean,
it's a big question. It's
no,
a big
yeah. I'm trying to, it's
question.
like trying to think, but it's like some of the stuff that, I mean, like some of the stuff that boggles my mind is, you know, you go to like a baseball, or you go to every single baseball field.
Yeah.
You know, they have these like rules of conduct.
Yeah.
On the fences.
Yeah, that's true. Nowhere else I've seen really, like it's very few times where I see like an actual stated, posted sign of this is what your behavior should be.
Well, and I think I think some of the mechanics of that is like, you know, I tell my son, like, I was really lucky, like hockey.
Yeah.
You're out on the ice and you're wearing a helmet.
Can't hear anything.
I can't hear anything, and the parents are actually pretty far away from you. So they're screaming and they're yelling their heads off. Yeah. I can't hear any of it. I think soccer, the mechanics are kind of the same.
Well, actually, it's probably not so much because
you're on the ground.
You're on the ground level. There's nothing interfering except just the general noise of the game. Right?
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing too about hockey, you get like tunnel. I mean, you're focused on your job and the puck, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, I know your head's on a swivel. Yeah,
sure.
I never got my clock clean, so yeah,
fair.
Head on a swivel.
Fair.
But you're focused on your job. Yeah. So it's like
it's not even aware of it.
Baseball. There's a fence. Literally, you could be this close to the kid batting.
Sure.
And so, mom and dad, grandma, whoever is helping out the kid and they're helping out the umpire.
Yeah.
I've been doing this since my son was 7 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's about to turn 17. I've been doing this 10 years.
Yeah.
I have never, ever once seen an umpire change a call because what a parent, fan, bystander ever said.
I've never saw a referee
anything.
change a call because of the sideline either. Yeah.
And yet, I mean, at every high school, select, college, I mean, everybody, it's like, I don't, why?
Yeah.
You know, if it's like, if you, and I mean, I've known people that like started, got it, you know, again, these organizations desperately need volunteers. Like, I've known umpires that did it for a couple of years and like, nope.
Can't take it anymore.
I don't need the aggravation.
Yep. No, I agree. Soccer's very similar. Like the game itself, the noise of the game is probably louder because there's more continuous action.
Well, I think the players are farther away, so you feel like you have to project. If you're
as a coach, definitely, right? Yeah. But you're right. Like it's. I think baseball is a very quiet sport if you had no fans.
Yes.
Like there's literally very little. There's not a lot of chatter except for maybe the other opposing, dugout giving razz and batters like that. But like the game within, like if you're on defense out in the field, there's not a lot of like conversation going on.
Yeah.
That, and especially, but with soccer there's constant conversation between players and between opposing players as well. So like it's a little louder when there's no fans. But with baseball, it's purely like you just hear the crowd noise and you hear people yelling at the ump or players or whatever. So
I think the other thing, if I had a time machine to go back, is like kind of going back to the point I was saying earlier. Is like I would have tried to enjoy the moments more. Because I know I don't know about the other sports, but baseball. And again, you get to certain levels and you start interacting with people who've made it to the minors and made it to the majors, and then you talk to them, and the coaches will say this a lot in clinics and stuff. It's like the game ends for us. Everybody, the game stops, and I don't know what time your game will stop. There's kids that were like all-stars at 10U that aren't playing anymore. I know this family's kid's not playing anymore. He was like the best kid on the team for whatever reason. Sometimes I'm sure this is at every sport where like the skill or the game moves away from you and you can't stay with it. You've been fortunate to stay with it so far. I don't know how long that journey goes, right? Because you get to a certain level, it's like, okay, that's your level. So I wish I didn't. That's what I'm doing now. As my son's older, so I don't have to be at every single game. So sometimes I watch from a distance now to kind of just enjoy the game and enjoy him as an athlete. That's great. Seeing how special he is. It's like, this maybe if this is his last game, I enjoyed it. I didn't make it.
I wasn't caught up in something else.
Or it's like we're not caught up in me.
Correct.
Like, and again, his value to me is not as if he doesn't, if he's not the starting shortstop for UT, it's like. Yeah, he's always going to be my son. So
that's freaking brilliant, man. Listen on that. That's brilliant. Dude, thanks, man.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
That was fantastic. Guys, thanks so much. We will catch you guys next time. Take care.